Welcome, everyone. I'm Bonita from Pennies to Dollars, and I'm here in rural Kansas on a very windy day today. And I'm going to talk to you about how I plan, how I budget, how I forecast for my low monthly income. Now, as many of you know, I early retired in October of 2023. I do have a savings that I have stuck back, but we all know how quickly that can go, especially if that is forecasted to last us the rest of our life and we retired early. Now, many people always say you have the option to go back to work. Well, that is true. Many people do go back to work or do go back for a part-time job. I have back issues that prevent me from doing that. That's why I retired early. I did not apply for disability. So I'm just living on a low monthly income that I have coming in from some investment accounts, from YouTube, from TikTok, and that sort of thing. And those fluctuate month to month. They're not always dependable. So I'm going to share with you what my goal is per month to bring in and what I actually have been bringing in per month, how I break that down, how I forecast to try to get extra money and plan to get extra money when I can. And I hope this helps someone today. So before we get started, I do want to tell you, because I have people telling me I try to hide my husband. Seriously, I have not hid my husband at all since I started this channel. I am married. We married later in life. We married at 47 years old. I am now 60. He is still 59. And we have always kept our money separate. This is something we decided in the beginning. I still had kids I was putting through college. I still had kids in high school. I've had money issues in the past when I was married before, and I was not about to put my money with someone, especially when I'm still paying to put kids through school. He splits the internet, the electricity, and he pays for his food, his car, his insurance, that sort of thing. So before we get started, I just want to let you know I keep my money separate, and I am serious about that. I've always done that. I'm not about to change. I want to be independent. I want to know I can take care of myself no matter what happens. So now that that is out of the way, my goal per month is to bring in about $1,200. And what I actually have been bringing in is a lot less. In January, I brought in $852.87. In February, $896.03. In March, $858.58. So that is way less than my comfortable goal of $1,200. I live frugally. I live in the country. I don't have a garbage bill. I don't have a water bill. So there are some things that I don't have as costs living here. And I can roughly live here for about $300 a month on what I have to pay property taxes and to pay my part of the electric, of the internet, that sort of thing. So today we are going to talk about how I stay on top of my low income. So as I shared, my goal is 1,200. My reality is more in the 800 mark. So the important thing is to know your monthly goal to start out with and to know what your needs are. You can't forecast, you can't budget, you can't stay on top of where you are financially if you don't know those numbers. And I always say, know your numbers. It's so important. I feel like there's so many people that are just operating without knowing those numbers. A lot of people will say that it costs them a lot more to live than it actually does, or it costs them a lot less to live than it actually does. And that's because they haven't actually sat down and taken a look at what their needs are, what they are actually spending versus what their needs are. Sometimes there is a gap in there, and that's where you can finagle your numbers. The next tip is I seriously use rebates and digital coupons and all of those things to bring in extra cash. And my goal per month is $100. That's $1,200 extra dollars a year just by me doing rebates, taking pictures of receipts, and doing all of that religiously every single month. I am serious about getting every penny back that I possibly can that is free. And I list all of those apps that I use in the description box below with referral codes. That helps you and it also helps me. So the ones that I use religiously are Fetch, Receipt Pal, Inbox Dollars, Swag Bucks. I also use the Upside app and I use that for gas. And if I ever eat out, I always check first to see if there's a restaurant on there. I don't eat out hardly ever, as you know, because I just took a car camping trip and I hardly ate out that entire trip for 19 days. I also rely on my cash back on my credit cards. I use my credit cards for everything. They have a zero balance, but I rely on that cash back. My Capital One gives me 1.5% cash back. My Discover gives me 1% cash back. I run specials per quarter of 5% cash back. This quarter is restaurants and home repair stores. Last quarter was grocery stores. So that's huge. So I make a mindful decision every single quarter on which credit card I'm using for what and whether or not I can get the most back using that credit card. And I choose that credit card. I know my cash back dates. Discover gives me my cash back on the 25th of the month. My cash back on Capital One is daily. I check it daily. I upload anything that I get cash back towards my balance. And I use Ibotta and I also use Receipt Jar. Now, some of those have referral codes, some of them don't. Check in that description box below because, like I said, they will give you a bonus and they will give me a reward for you using my code. But those are imperative for me to use every month. As you can see, low budget. An extra $100 is my goal per month. In January, I brought in $99.66 in rebates. In February, $100.53 in rebates. In March, $73.08 in rebates. So yes, I track that too, because as you can see, right now, that's like 1/8 of my income. So to me, that is really important, and I'm not going to let that slide. I have so many people that I talk to that don't do this, and I explain to them how to do this, and then they just think it's too much trouble. Well, maybe it is too much trouble depending on what your income and your expenses are, but for me, it's imperative that I use those rebates because it's a big part of me having any extra money per month. I also make extra money wherever I can if possible. I have a YouTube, I have a TikTok, I have an Amazon affiliate account where those links that you use in the description box below, if you click on one of them and then you buy anything in the next 24 hours, I get a few pennies based on that purchase, even if you didn't buy what I suggested. The base pay is $10. Sometimes they go 3 months without getting $10, but when I get that extra $10, it really helps because that's half a tank of gas. So I try to make money in every way I can. I do mystery shopping. I did 2 in January. I did 2 grocery stores in April, and I'm doing 2 restaurants in April. It's just a little bit of extra money that pays for your gas. And if I'm already going to town to get groceries, that helps pay for my gas, which helps. And sometimes I have leftovers from the restaurant, which will take care of me having food at home for the next 2 or 3 days. And if I have the grocery shop ones, they'll let me get $10 of groceries for free and pay for my gas. So So I do use those when I can plan to do them and they're already in a direction that I'm already going to try to make the most out of that. I don't do them every single month. Sometimes they're not available every single month. And sometimes I have other things going on and I just can't make it work. But I do mystery shopping. I also have 2 Depression Era Cookbooks that I list in the description box below. They're small cookbooks. They don't cost that much. The amount that I make off of them is really small. It's usually $1 or less per cookbook, and I get a small check at the end of the month. Sometimes it's like $3, but I count every penny and I make sure that I'm doing the best that I can with the money that I have available to me. I also recycle cans, and when I get enough to take those in, the last time I took them in, they were 78 cents a pound. So yes, I make sure that I can take advantage of everything possible that I possibly can to bring in anything extra during that month. I also have some passive income. I have a couple of investment accounts and they are very fluctuating. That's part of that $800 that I get per month. I also have a money market checking account. The interest is so low. I think last time it was like 0.25 or 0.45 per month, which is terrible, but I do have some money in there that I can access easily if I need to. And then I also have some CDs that bring in some interest, but I just roll those back into the CDs so that the interest next quarter has that money included. Those have come down significantly. They were over 4%. Now they are under 4%. But again, it's passive income. So I try not to touch any of the interest or any of that income, and I let that just roll over. And that mystery shopping that I do, I also have that direct deposited into my savings account. I try to operate without that. If I get into a pinch, I will transfer that over to my checking so that I can use it. I have a checking account that I use for normal day-to-day bills, and I don't put anything extra in there. And then I have that money market checking account with a little bit of interest and my CDs. So I keep my money in different pots, and that keeps me also from overspending. And then I stay on top of my numbers, as I have talked about all through this video. And I have a tracker. I keep track of my income, my expenses. I do it by hand. I track every single penny. Even if I find a penny or two, I write it down. I track everything, and I track my income and my expenses to see where I'm at any given moment. I also keep my checkbook register going. So I have a lot of numbers that I check on a daily basis to see where I'm at. I feel like when you have a low income, you have to do that. Otherwise, it can get away from you in a hurry. So I have different categories for my budget, and then I track them on paper by category. My categories are medicines and doctor, that's in one category. Meals out, which I try to avoid. I do have a budget for that, but right now when my budget's so low, that one is not getting used. My phone that I use is in its own budget. I have haircuts that I track, but I don't have any budget money in there. It has just been too expensive. So I've been cutting my own hair. I have a grocery budget that I track on how much is spent per month. I buy my own food. My husband pays for half of the food. I do all the grocery shopping, and I do it with coupons and rebates the best that I can. I had a budget for lot rent because I was staying in Texas the last 2 years in my RV. I actually took a car camping trip, which saved me about $800 off of that lot rent, not to mention the electricity and the internet that I was paying for when I was there for 3 months. So I didn't go down this year, but the trip that I took was much more frugal than what it would have cost me. And if you haven't followed those videos, I went to 5 national parks. I was gone 19 days, and I spent a little over $600 camping in my car. I also have a separate budget for car tags. I have one for car insurance. I have one for property taxes, and I have one for oil changes and repairs on my car. I also have a small budget for vacation, but again, that's one that's getting skipped right now because my budget is so low. The budget that I used for my car camping trip actually came out of my working monthly income, and that's what I used. I was gone most of the month, and I was still able to stay under what I was bringing in significantly, and I was able to pay all my bills that month. I also have a small monthly budget for Christmas and birthdays. I have a small one for clothes, and I do try to sell things on eBay. I have been decluttering for the last several years, and when I sell something on eBay, that money goes back into my clothing budget. So that's how I track that. My budget per month is only $11, but I put anything I make on eBay back into my clothing budget. I also have a Hulu account on which I watch my General Hospital every single day. I track that expense, which has continued to go up, and it is now at $13.77 per month. I have an internet bill here at home. It is not the fastest internet. Sometimes you will see glitches in my recording because my internet is not very fast. It's the fastest I can get in this area without like doubling my internet bill by getting like Starlink or one of those. So I just deal with it. I do have a snack budget of $30 per month. That way, when I'm out and about, if I want to get something, I do have that budget. However, that's another one that goes out the window when my income is low. I also started tracking my miscellaneous on how much I was spending because I was shocked to see that I actually had some things that didn't fall in any category. And I have some miscellaneous that I've been tracking just to see if I need to actually budget there. I have an electric slash propane budget because we are heated by propane. My husband and I split the propane bill when we buy it 2 or 3 times a year. We haven't purchased it since October. I also have a car gas budget, and any shops that I do, that pay goes back into my car gas budget to help with that because I do have a lot of grandkids events that I don't want to miss. I also have an Amazon Prime budget, and my daughter uses that as well, and we do watch TV off of that. I pay for Amazon Prime and Hulu. My husband pays for Paramount Plus, and he also pays for Netflix, and that's how we split that. And then I have a cat food slash vet budget, and I buy cat food. My husband also will buy cat food, and we split any vet bills. So that is how my budget looks right now. That's how I stay on top of a low income to make sure that I don't go over what I bring in. Let me know how you track your budget, if you are tracking every penny or if that's something that you don't do. I only started doing that when I decided I was going to quit my job early at 57. I started doing that about a year or two in advance, and now I'm doing it all the time because it has such great information that I would be scared not to track every single penny because I know I was going over in different categories, not thinking that I was. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Maybe it's given you some ideas on how you can use your small income to make ends meet. I appreciate so much you all being here today and listening to my video. Please give me a thumbs up if you have, and I hope you'll join me for another one.